boy Town. So, you know, um, decided to do a video. I got more coming. So, all right. So, we heard Tank Davis hint that Lomachenko, in all likelihood, could be next. Now, they're talking about fighting on November the 24th, I think, which is a Thursday or Friday. I'm gonna have to check and see. That's a ways from, you know what I'm saying? That's a little ways from now. So, more than likely it should be like the 25th or the 26th or something. So, nothing set in stone. So, we heard that there's pre-negotiations. Bob Arum hinted that they're in pre-negotiations for Tank to fight Lomachenko. There's also been discussion of Tank fighting the monster Ininu, which I don't see that fight happening because at the end of the day, listen, it makes financial sense, but as far as Tank's overall record, it doesn't make sense. It would come across as a flat out cherry pick and a money grab. Because who in their right mind? Now, you had some Innu fans think that he has an actual chance versus Tank, and you have to just go back to basics, and you have to simplify this as much as possible. The monster has no chance versus Tank. That's a 3-round fight. Not saying that the monster isn't any good, but due to the fact Tank would have a huge size advantage, power, skill, he would have every advantage over Anyway. And if you think that Anyway has a chance versus Tank, you're delusional. And it's just no other way to put it. You're just delusional if you think he has. It's a waste of time. You have to ask yourself, why would you even waste your time in 75 to 80 bucks for a fight where you know the outcome, where you know that Tank is going to viciously knock out Anyway in 3 rounds, and he might do some serious damage to him. And when I say he's going to sleep him, he's going to sleep him. It doesn't matter what weight class they fight at. The monster has no chance versus Tank, and people got to be realistic. He has no chance. And I think Bob Arum knows too. Why would Bob Arum sacrifice and give Tank, Al Heyman, and PBC indefinite W? Because that's an indefinite W for Tank. Well, Tank has went back to saying that Lomachenko is next, and that they already in pre-negotiations. Bob Arum has hinted that they are in pre-negotiations, for a fight. So, with that being said, it looked like in all likelihood, unless somebody backs out of the deal, Lomachenko is next. Shakur Stevenson is going to get pushed to the back burner because at the end of the day, Shakur Stevenson, that's a very risky fight for Tank, even though Shakur Stevenson lacks the punching power. Honest, Tank will come after Shakur Stevenson, but the problem is, will that be a fan-friendly fight? It'd be one of those things where Shakur wins a very boring fight, like De Los Santos, or Tank, controversial fight due to the fact that he wins. But the problem is, times is a slow starter and he has trouble initiating offense. But you saw, and I think that's something that Tank has to do a little bit more. But still, you look at Tank, he still, once again, he loses rounds. The first half of the fight, once again, Tank is a guy, once again, that heavily relies on his power because he feels like, this is the thing, he feels like he's in a position that Deontay Wilder is in. But here's the thing, Tank is a far better, superior boxer. He's an actual boxer, puncher, and he does have great ring generalship. But I do think Tank relies on his power way too much because eventually there's going to be that one dude that Tank isn't able to land a big shot that's going to have what you call calculating defense, is going to pick his spots with Tank, and then Tank can find himself actually losing the fight. Don't know who this fighter going to be. Some people believe it could be Shakur Stevenson. And then you never know. A lot of people, a lot of people have written off Devin Haney, but you never know. We'll see how Devin Haney is after these next couple of fights. We'll see how Devin Haney looks versus Sandor Martin, and probably the next fight afterward. I think Devin Haney will recover. And by the way, shout out to Devin Haney and both, Errol Spence for, reminding these Ryan Garcia fans that, basically Ryan Garcia quit versus Tank. He did. And I'm going to give another reminder. I have to remind Tank, I wouldn't exactly say he's the most exciting fighter. I would disagree with you on that. Well, I mean, that's fine. I mean, Tank. I mean, nobody said Tank isn't a fighter. I'm just saying I got to go with Bud. Bud's the most exciting fighter out there. Bud always gives you great fights. The problem is with Tank. Tank falls behind in a lot of his fights, and that's what I don't like about Tank. Going into the second half of the fight, I had it even. Some people had, Frank Martin up. I had it even. But what I'm saying is eventually, so Terrence Crawford having knocked out his last 9 opponents. You got to go by quality. You got to go by quality as well. That's all I'm saying. I mean, you went to your opinion, but I think that Bud is the most exciting fighter. Bud is the most exciting fighter right now. To agree to disagree on that. Yeah, but Frank Martin didn't have the experience. Like I said before, at the end of the day, this is why the PBC pulled him out of the Shakur Stevenson fight, because basically they was like, well, why would we give him to Shakur Stevenson, and Shakur Stevenson beats Frank Martin? Okay, well then guess what? We can't put him in the ring with somebody like Tank. That's all I'm saying. I'm just, I just want to see Tank step it up a little bit. That's all. I just want to see Tank being more competitive fights where he has the actual chance of losing. The thing is about Bud, when he fought Errol Spence, there was an actual chance that he might lose it. But I didn't think Bud was going to lose to Errol Spence, but, a lot of people did, especially the people from Dallas. So, Bud is the number 1 pound per pound fighter, but it's all good. Thing is, Tank ain't. The problem is with Tank is Tank's still a legitimate even a pound per pound fighter. There's people that still don't even have Tank in their top 10 pound per pound. I mean, I guess based off the fact that he's selling out arenas, if that warrants him being a pound per pound fighter, then I guess so be it. But what's next for Tank? In all likelihood, it'll be Lomachenko, but he's not going to get both. He's not going to get the monster and Lomachenko both. Bob Arum will probably sacrifice Lomachenko because Lomachenko is every bit of 36. He put it together to, so he put it together to get past George Kambosos. And at the end of the day, that was a great win for him. But there's a difference between George Kambosos and Tank. Styles make fights. But the problem is with Tank versus Lomachenko, that fight may be a calculated fight for the first couple of rounds, because the problem is Lomachenko is a slow starter and Tank is kind of a slow starter. So the problem is what's going to happen the first 3 rounds. Who's going to initiate the offense? We all know that Lomachenko has a history of falling behind in fights as well and having to, claw his way back into the fight. You've seen that quite a few times with Lomachenko. The first fight up for grabs, but he got the stoppage. The Tiafimo fight, he lost arguably the first like 7 rounds. He fell behind versus Devin Haney, even though he had two great rounds, the 10th and 11th. He took his foot off the gas. Devin Haney won the 12th easily, and then that pretty much was the fight. But then again, watching that fight, I thought Devin Haney clearly won that fight, but that's neither here or there. I just think Tank versus Lomachenko, I think that fight might be one of them fights, don't start getting excited until about the round, because I think you might even see some boos. One of them guys is going to have to get started. So the problem is, it's just going to take a minute. What could happen if they start to hear boos, nothing's happening, then I think Tank may just start to try to walk Lomachenko down. We all know Lomachenko's biggest weakness. Lomachenko cannot fight going backwards. And if Tank pins Lomachenko up against the ropes, he going to suffer the same fate. But I think Tank is going to do, I think he's going to, when I say Lomachenko, Lomachenko do not, when I say he is very, he's very suspect to the body. Most fighters that had success against Lomachenko was attacking his body. That's what paid off for Devin Haney, because he was hitting Lomachenko with body shot. They're saying that Devin Haney cracked one of Lomachenko's ribs. Lomachenko had to go to the hospital after the Devin Haney fight. And Lomachenko was pretty touched up from that fight. I know people say that they thought he won, but I have to call bullshit on that. But I just think that Tank is eventually going to, I think after the 4th round, if nothing much is happening, set him up, set some traps. But what I think is going to happen is, I think Tank is going to drop Lomachenko with a body shot first. And I think Lomachenko is going to make the 10 count. And I think that's going to be later on in the fight. But then I think Tank, once he starts to walk Lomachenko down, and I think once he gets Lomachenko pinned up against the rope, I think when Lomachenko tries to press forward, I think Tank is going to hit Lomachenko with an uppercut. And then I think he's going to hit him with a left hook, and I think that's going to end the fight, because what he did was he hit Frank Martin with a sharp uppercut. Already was gone from that. And then but that's what's going to happen. But as far as Bob Arum giving them both, I wouldn't even bother worrying about a monster in a new fight. I wouldn't even worry about that fight. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. I wouldn't even make plans. I think it's like null and void. I think it's a non-issue. I know Bob Arum was sitting somewhere when he saw what Tank did to Frank Martin. Bob Arum was like, it ain't no way we put anyway in the ring with Tank for him to get smoked. Lomachenko 36. Tank is, by the time that fight roll around, I think Tank will be 30. I think if Lomachenko decides to start early, it could be an interesting fight. But the problem is with Lomachenko, it's hard to get that dude to start early. Lomachenko will give you the first 2 or 3, 4 rounds before he gets going. And then what he tries to do, he tries to pick a spot, land shots, wear you down, tire you down, take away your will. But that doesn't always work, because I looked at the Jermaine Ortiz fight. I know they gave Lomachenko, I think, a unanimous decision, but I thought Jermaine Ortiz won that fight 7 rounds to 5. I think Jermaine Ortiz had a really good first half, and then I think he did enough in the second half to secure the fight. But then Jermaine Ortiz, one of those dudes, he's always left out in the cold. Many people thought he beat Teofimo Lopez, but he didn't get the nod. So Jermaine Ortiz said in an interview, he said that this time it's no more Mr. Nice Guy. He said he not relying. And Jermaine Ortiz got decent power. He said, now he just going to be trying to get dudes up out of there. He know when it pertains to certain fighters, they not going to give him the nod. And I understand that. But if there is you know what I'm saying, if there is like a cross promotion between the PBC and Top Rank, Bob will give Tank Lomachenko before he gives him, because Lomachenko makes more sense. Now the problem is with Lomachenko is Lomachenko willing to go up to 140. Lomachenko has stated on several occasions he does his best as 135, and that's as far as he's going to go. Now, will they have to add some extra zeros to Lomachenko's check to get him to fight at 140? We'll have to see. If they willing, I think maybe what they'll do on Lomachenko's case, they may say, hey, we'll do a catch weight, maybe 138, 137, and I think that's how that fight is going to be made. Shakur and Tank is a bigger. Yeah, but okay, let me explain to you so you can understand how this works. Tank sold out to MGM Garden Arena, fighting Frank Martin, basically a relatively unknown fighter. His name is out there as being a dude that got knocked out by Tank Davis. So Tank Davis, in the words of Emilio Estevez from Young Guns, he made him famous for knocking him out. You have to understand, boxing is a business. They're going to go by business sense. And then Tank is, if you Tank, you looking at yourself like, okay, well, what fight would be less risky for me and I still could sell the joint out? He's going to sell the joint out anyway. He's going to pack the arena. He's going to pack the arena. He's going to pack the T-Mobile Arena or the MGM Grand Garden Arena fighting Lomachenko regardless. So why would you take Shakur Stevenson right now when you can fight Shakur Stevenson later, when you got a 36-year-old Lomachenko who may be at the tip, put together enough to have a good outing only to get knocked out by Tank? Boxing is a business. So it makes more business sense. And then plus, you're going to have the Lomachenko fans, the 200,000 Lomachenko fans, they may be interested in buying, and out of them, 100,000 of them may be interested in buying a pay-per-view because they're going to think he may be the guy. They're going to have a delusion of thinking that he's going to be able to beat Tank. That's not going to happen. And then you have to take the racial element into this. There's going to be people rooting for Lomachenko just because he's a white Eastern European fighter. That's the difference between me and other people. I'll tell the truth. They're going to strictly buy that fight and root for Lomachenko because he's white Eastern European over the black fighter in Tank. So you have to look at that dynamic. The only reason why people were so upset about Lomachenko and Devin Haney, because Devin Haney didn't blow Lomachenko out according to some people's eyes, because some people called it a contested fight. So whenever it's a contested fight between somebody like Devin Haney versus Lomachenko, they're going to say it's controversy and say it's a robbery, even though it wasn't a robbery. So that's what you're looking at with Tank and Lomachenko. It makes more business sense for Tank versus him fighting Shakur Stevenson. So he doesn't have to fight Shakur Stevenson now, because you look at it this way. Tank's team is going to say, Tank, you don't have to fight Shakur Stevenson right away. You sold out the MGM Grand Garden Arena fighting Frank Martin, a relatively unknown fighter. You could fight Shakur Stevenson later. Why not fight a dude that, in all likelihood, you'll win the fight? So they do it business. They do it business wise and what makes business sense. Is it fair? No. Do I like it? Absolutely not. But that best fight and the best stuff, that stuff went out the window like in the late like the late 90s. You know, early 2000s, then the mid 2000s, when you started to see all these promotional companies getting these TV deals. They were like, okay, why should we use outside companies or outside promotional companies when we could just sign a whole bunch of fighters, put them in our stable and have them fight each other, where basically we can get belts and then we can have our belt holders defend their belts against our guys. And then the sanctioning bodies don't do what they supposed to do for the most part. So, they go by whoever sends them the biggest checks. So that's how it works. Nobody don't care about legacy no more. All that stuff ended. Like I said, Floyd did it that stuff. He did it that stuff about the best fighting the best. As he said, it makes business sense for them, for him. So I'm just telling you, I don't like it. I've been very adamant about that, but I'm just telling the truth. Think of it. If you Tank Davis people, you just sold out the MGM Grand Garden Arena. That place was packed, filled to capacity. Him fighting Frank Martin. So he has drawing power. Why would you put him in a risky fight in Shakur Stevenson, which it is a risky fight, where there's a possibility it could be an ugly fight, even though you may win, you may not knock Shakur Stevenson out, because Tank is known for knockouts. So people want to see Tank knock people out. Now it's to the point people don't want to see Tank go to the distance. So that takes a little bit off the Tank's stature if he goes to the cards with Shakur Stevenson and wins on a decision, because now he's became a knockout artist. See, and that's the pros and cons of being considered a knockout artist. So that's why he's not going to fight Shakur Stevenson. I already knew he wasn't going to fight Shakur Stevenson next. Lomachenko makes more sense. 36 years old, 400 amateur fights. So it makes all the sense in the world. So that's why I feel like Lomachenko probably is going to be the next fight. If not him, Tank will fight the winner out of El Rayo Pitbull Cruz. And then I do think there's a rematch with Ryan Garcia in the cards, depending on what happens with Ryan Garcia. Depending on when they're going to take action against Ryan Garcia. So that's basically what's going on. So there you have it. But I don't see Bob Arum giving Tank both. He'll give him one. But not both. So there you have it. It's your boy Town. I'm out.